it's what you want more than anything. Freedom of time, freedom of money, freedom to be who you are without limits. But let's be honest, if that were true, why are your actions chained to your past? Why are your thoughts still filtered through the lens of fear? You're not chasing freedom, you're rehearsing slavery. Every time you say, "I can't," every time you ask for permission, every time you doubt your own worth, you're reinforcing the invisible cage you live in. And the sickest part? You've gotten comfortable there, decorated it, called it realistic, but it's not realism. It's resignation. And that's the real reason you'll never be free. Until you fix this. Let's cut deeper. Because what's holding you isn't the government. It's not the job. It's not the system. It's you. Your inability to control your inner world is why the outer world keeps dominating you. You keep responding like a puppet, pulled by the strings of impulse, emotion, and fear. You think you're making choices, but you're just reacting. Reacting to pain, to judgment, to silence. You see someone else winning, and your first reflex is to shrink, to compare, to hate. That's not freedom. That's psychological captivity. And the most dangerous part? You don't even recognize it. You've confused comfort with liberty, when in reality you're imprisoned by your own patterns. The wealthy, the powerful, the truly free. They didn't escape the cage by accident. They built the key inside their mind. They stopped blaming. They stopped numbing. They stopped negotiating with weakness. They mastered the one battlefield that actually determines success, the internal one. And until you do that, no strategy, no coach, no course will save you. Because every breakthrough starts in silence, when no one's watching. When you choose discomfort over distraction. When you stop scrolling and start building, that's when the shift begins. So here's your first task. Observe your own programming. Watch how quickly your mind reaches for excuses. Pay attention to how often you seek validation, distraction, comfort. Count the number of times you avoid the thing you know you need to do. Not to judge, just to witness. Because awareness is step one. You can't escape a prison you won't admit you're in. Write it down. Track it. Audit your mind, like your life depends on it. Because it does. And while you're here, still watching, still breathing, still absorbing, send a signal. A signal that you're not just consuming this passively, but claiming it. Tap the like button. Subscribe. Not because it helps me, but because it rewires you. Every micro action matters. Every commitment you keep strengthens the muscle that's been atrophied for years. And that's the real game. Not information, transformation. Let's talk about the true enemy of your freedom, emotional reactivity. You think your mind is your ally, but most days, it's a traitor. It convinces you that procrastination is peace, that overthinking is preparation. That fear is a stop sign instead of a signal to accelerate. And you obey it, blindly. You let your emotions dictate your decisions, your pace, your self-worth. One comment online and your confidence collapses. One bad day, and your entire momentum is gone. That's not mindset, that's emotional slavery. And here's the brutal truth. If your mood controls your movement, then you are not free. You're owned by the lowest version of yourself. This is where most people stay stuck. They read books, binge content, chase hacks, all in an attempt to feel ready. But readiness is a lie. Winners don't feel ready. They train their minds to act despite resistance. That's the edge. That's the difference. The emotional strength isn't about being numb. It's about choosing your response instead of reacting out of habit. The ones who rise, they still feel fear. They still doubt. They still wrestle with shame. But they don't bow to it. They use it. They take that fire and forge discipline, clarity, and action. While you're busy asking, what if I fail? They're already 10 steps into execution. And if you think this is just about wealth, you're wrong. This is about every dimension of life. Your relationships suffer when you react instead of respond. Your health decays when you seek comfort over control. Your legacy vanishes when you keep quitting every time things get hard. This is the war you have to win, not against others, but within yourself. And the weapon you need isn't motivation, it's identity. Because when you become the kind of person who shows up, who commits, who executes regardless of feeling, freedom becomes inevitable. Here's a challenge to prove it. For the next 3 days, practice emotional override. Wake up and execute execute your plan, no matter how you feel. If you're tired, move anyway. If you're unmotivated, work anyway. If you're anxious, breathe and act anyway. Track it. Write it down. And every time you override your comfort-seeking brain, reward yourself with reinforcement, not pleasure, but proof. Say it out loud. I move no matter what. Say it again until your nervous system learns the truth. And while you're here, don't scroll past this moment. If something inside you just sparked, if this is hitting deeper than most things you hear, lock it in. Hit like, subscribe, comment. I choose discipline over emotion, not because of vanity, but because repetition wires reality. When you engage, you embed the identity you're trying to build. Now let's strip this even further. Ask yourself one dangerous question. Who am I when no one's watching? That version of you, the one behind closed doors, in the quiet moments, when the dopamine dries up and the pressure sets in. That's the version that defines your future, not the version you post online, not the version you pretend to be on your best days, but the one who makes decisions when the spotlight's off. That's the person building or breaking your destiny. And for most people, that version is weak, soft, addicted to comfort, addicted to validation, addicted to the idea of success, but allergic to the discomfort required to achieve it. You say you want wealth, but you can't sit still for 10 minutes without grabbing your phone. You say you want power, but you flinch at rejection. You say you want freedom, but you can't even stick to your own word. This isn't about capability, it's about control. And the truth most can't stomach? If you can't control your thoughts, your habits, your emotions, you're not building a life. You're surviving one. You're on autopilot, reacting to your environment like a leaf in the wind, praying one day you'll land somewhere successful. You won't, because success isn't a place, it's a person, and you haven't become them yet. So how do you shift this? One brutal ritual: radical ownership. For the next week, every time something goes wrong, every time you're late, distracted, reactive, own it. Fully. No one to blame. No system to scapegoat. Just you and the mirror. Say it out loud. That was me. Own the delay. Own the excuse. Own the misstep. Because the moment you take responsibility, you reclaim your power. Victims outsource control. Builders take it back. And yes, it hurts. But that pain, that's the exact pressure required to reshape your identity into someone who cannot be broken. Now let's anchor this with action. Choose one habit this week. Just one. Something small but sharp. Something you've been avoiding. Could be as simple as waking up at the same time, going 24 hours without sugar, or writing your goals down before bed. But here's the rule. It must be daily, and it must be non-negotiable. Because identity isn't built in theory. It's built in behavior. And when you execute consistently, even when it's hard, especially when it's hard, you begin to see yourself differently. Not as someone who wishes, but as someone who wins. If you've made it this far, it's not by accident. Something in you is waking up. Something in you knows that this isn't just a video, it's a confrontation, a mirror, a challenge. So send that signal to your future self. Hit like, subscribe, comment. I own everything. Not for attention, but for accountability. Because the moment you declare who you are, the old version loses power, and the new one begins to rise. Let's talk about war, the invisible kind. The one that happens in your mind before the day even begins. Before your feet hit the floor, you've already been ambushed by thoughts of doubt, hesitation, distraction. And most of you surrender before the first shot's fired. You tell yourself it's just another day, that it doesn't matter, that you'll try harder tomorrow. But that's the trap, that's the illusion. Because every time you negotiate with your old self, you reinforce your prison. Every time you choose silence over action, comfort over movement, delay over decision, you're casting a vote against your future, against your freedom. And let me be direct. The reason you're not free is because you're still making room for your past. You keep giving it a seat at the table. You talk about changing, but your habits still serve who you used to be. You want new results? Then stop doing rituals that belong to your former self. Start acting like someone who's already free. A free person doesn't need motivation to act. They move with conviction. A free person doesn't wait for clarity. They create it. A free person doesn't seek permission. They declare war on mediocrity every morning. So here's your question. Are you free, or are you just familiar with your cage? Most people decorate their prison. They make their excuses look pretty. I'm just tired. It's not the right time. I need to figure things out first. That's not strategy. That's stagnation wearing makeup. You want to break free? Then destroy the rituals that keep you average. And it starts right now. Open your calendar. Choose one thing this week that scares you. The thing you've been avoiding. That uncomfortable phone call. That honest conversation. That physical challenge. Put it in ink. Not on your maybe list, on your must list. Commit and execute without negotiation. And as you do this, while you take these micro wars into your day, remember, success has a scent. And it's not confidence or perfection. It's blood, it's friction, it's resistance. The people you admire didn't get there clean. They got there bruised, battered, but unbreakable. And that's what you're becoming. Not a person who has it all figured out, but one who refuses to quit until it's done. And if that's you, if you're building that person brick by brutal brick, then let the world know. Hit like, subscribe, comment. I don't negotiate with my old self, because that's the new standard. And the algorithm, it's watching. Make sure it knows you're not here to scroll. You're here to transform. Now let's expose the root of your invisible chains. You think your life will change when your circumstances do. You think freedom comes from money, from a new job, a better partner, a different environment. But none of those things will set you free, because they're not the problem. Your mind is. Your patterns are. Your default settings. The mental reflexes you've trained over years of avoiding discomfort, of choosing the easy route, of playing it safe. You want external results with an internal system built to survive, not to thrive. But freedom doesn't begin with opportunity. It begins with identity. Until you fix this, nothing else will last. What is this? It's your relationship with responsibility. Because here's a bitter pill. Every time you wait for someone to change, for life to soften, for conditions to improve, you're outsourcing your power. You've convinced yourself that something out there is holding you back, when in truth, it's your unwillingness to own everything, even what wasn't your fault. That's what separates the free from the imprisoned. Extreme ownership. Ownership of mindset, of energy, of output, of attitude, of standards. The moment you take full, savage responsibility for your reality, you start becoming untouchable, unstoppable, free. But it won't feel good at first. It'll feel heavy, like guilt, like shame. Because your ego will scream, "This isn't fair." And you're right, it's not. But freedom isn't fair. Freedom is earned. Through fire. Through relentless accountability. Through the decision to never blame again. And you can make that decision right now. No applause, no announcement. Just action. Quiet, consistent, violent action toward the person you say you want to become. The one who builds, not begs. Who creates, not complains. Who moves no matter what. Here's your final ritual. Each night, write down the 3 things you did that day that aligned with your highest self. Then write the 3 that didn't. Not to shame yourself, but to track your war. To see the patterns. To confront them. Because when you document your battle, you become its architect, not its victim. You gain clarity. You build momentum. And momentum? That's the real drug. The real freedom. Not a perfect life, but a powerful one. Not a life without chaos, but a mind that commands it. And while you're doing this work, while you shift, sweat, and bleed toward liberation, remember to signal that shift. Not for validation, but for alignment. Hit that like button. Subscribe to this message. Leave a comment. Freedom starts with me. Let the algorithm know you're not just here to consume. You're here to conquer.